Now, the current pension system is like this. Now, it's fully funded.
Good morning, Malacanang Press Corps, and welcome to our press briefing this morning, March 28th. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. presided over the sectoral meeting this morning. Tinalakay dito ang proposed merger of Land Bank of the Philippines and the Development Bank of the Philippines. The proposed merger aims to have a more robust and competitive bank that will provide better and more accessible financial services for Filipinos. Aside from this, the updates on the proposed military and uniform personnel pension reform was also discussed. And to give us more details on this, kasama natin ngayon si Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno. Good morning, Sec Diokno.
Thank you. As mentioned earlier, two topics were taken up today, both what I consider game-changing. No? The first one is the merger of the Development Bank of the Philippines and the Land Bank of the Philippines. By merging the two, it will now become the #1 bank in the Philippines, okay, ahead of Banco de Oro in terms of asset. Now, the President expressed the desire to merge the two to make it the biggest bank in the country because of the recent financial developments abroad, no? And that's really the best practice. The biggest bank usually is owned by the state globally. Now, he expressed concern that in the process of merging, that none of the services provided by either bank will be lost. And we assured him that with the merger, because both the Land Bank and DBP are universal banks, they do almost the same, right? Except that one is focused on agri, the other one on industrial projects. But they do practically the same. And that as a result of the merger, there will be savings, and the merged bank will be stronger. And in fact, one likely outcome of this is that maybe the interest rate that they will charge will be lower than either of the two at the moment. Between the two of them, of course, as you know, the Land Bank is the bigger bank, right? It has how many branches? Land Bank has 752 branches at the moment, and the Development Bank of the Philippines has 147 branches. Now we mapped them, and as a result of the merger, only 22 branches of DBP will be retained. And that the plan is that Land Bank will have a branch in all LGUs in the Philippines. Okay, it could be a combination of light branches or the big branches, ATMs, etc. Okay. Now, ang advantage nito talaga is that we will be able to save a lot of money for the national government. We estimate that the savings will be in the neighborhood of at least for the first year around, let me be more precise, 5 billion. The projected operating cost savings due to the merger could reach at least 5.3 billion per year. So for the next 4 years, at least 20 billion, okay? And this is even understated because this does not include revenues that can be derived from the sale of redundant assets of DBP's various properties, such as its head office in Makati, a property in BGC, various branch properties, equipment, and licenses, and income that can be derived from the proceeds of such sale. So, any question on the first topic? None? No question? Let me go to the second topic, which is, again, this is another game-changing reform. I said this is more complicated than the first topic because I told the President, your predecessors have decided to kick the can down the road. They don't want to address this. I usually call this the elephant in the room. Nobody would like to touch it, and they simply ignore it. And this is the military and uniformed personnel pension reform. Okay. So we met with DILG Secretary Benhar Abalos and DND Secretary Galvez. And let me describe to you the present pension system. No? The pension system covered by this are those from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, the Bureau of Fire Protection, the PNP, the Philippine Public Safety College, the Philippine Coast Guard, and the Bureau of Corrections. Now, the current pension system is like this. Now, it's fully funded by the national government. In other words, it's appropriated annually in the budget, but there's no contribution from the retirees. Okay, you have a kind of, that's a unique kind of pension system. Right now, I think it's in the neighborhood of around 120 to 130 billion pesos in the 2023 budget. The MUP pension is automatically indexed to the salary of the personnel of the same rank. In other words, if you are a retiree, if you're a general getting X amount of money, if the salary of the incumbent is doubled, you get your pension doubled also. Okay. Third, when MUPs or military uniform personnel retire, they're given one rank higher. Okay, granted one rank higher. And so pension can be received after 20 years of service with no minimum pensionable age. So some of them, they get recruited at the age of 20, so they can already retire at the age of 40. Okay, and you know how long their lives are, right? The military people, they live longer than us. Okay, some at the age of 90. Okay, so they retire at 40, they get their pension up to age 90. Isn't that ridiculous? Okay, so we want to reform them, and right now the situation is so bleak. For example, that if you compare the current operating expenditures or maintenance and operating expenditures of the whole AAFP and the capital outlays, so the money they buy for airplanes, etc., it is actually much less than the amount of pension that we are allocating for the retirees. So there will come a time when the current budget will only be about one third or one fourth of the money that we're paying for the pensioners. Okay, so we have to really address that issue. It's not sustainable. And I said, if this goes on, there will be a fiscal collapse. So, what are the major recommendations? Again, let me compare. You have three groups of people: the military uniform personnel, you have the private sector, the SSS, those who retired under SSS, and those who retired under GSIS, government workers. The average monthly pension, this is monthly, of a military personnel is 40,000 pesos. Compare that to what an SSS retiree gets. It's 4,528. Okay? And what a GSIS personnel get, 13,600. So that the pension that is received by a military pensioner is 9 times higher than the average pension of a pensioner under the Social Security system, and 3 times higher than the average pension under the government service insurance system. So we have 4 proposals. Number 1 is for the reform to apply to all active personnel and new entrants. So once the new system is adopted, all those who are in active service and the new recruits will have to pay their way, right? No longer free, okay? Number two, removal of automatic indexation of pension to the salary of active personnel of similar ranks. So let me repeat that. Removal of automatic indexation of pension to the salary of active personnel of similar rank. And third, the military uniform personnel will receive their pension starting at 56 years old. Okay, or now it's now adjusted to 57. Okay, 57 years old. And number four, mandatory contributions will be required for active personnel and new entrants, similar to the GSIS pensioners. Okay? So, any questions?
Okay. Job Manahan, ABS-CBN.
Hello po sir, good morning po. Sir, dun sa apat na option na binigay nyo, saan po daw mas leaning si Secretary Galvez?
But there's unanimity that we talked with them, with Secretary Galvez, we talked to Secretary Benhar, Abalos, and they are generally agreed with all the four. Siguro meron lang sa question dito sa number 3. Kasi right now, I think ang optional retirement is after serving for 20 years, no? Gusto niya sana siguro gawin na daw na after 25 years yung optional retirement. But he will consult with the military personnel on this, no? But in general, the whole cabinet or the whole those who attended the meeting are in agreement with measures 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay.
Pahaba lang po sir. Doon naman sa merger, sino po yung clarification na po, sino yung surviving entity, Land Bank or DBP po?
Definitely Land Bank, no? Kasi Land Bank is, I think, at least 4 times bigger than the DBP, and that the existing board of Land Bank will survive. Okay?
Okay. Jonah Yu, Inquirer Radio.
Sir, just a quick follow-up on Job's question. How about the President? Is he inclined to approve your recommendations dun sa military retirement?
Yeah, he's part of the decision making.
Lahat doon,
Yeah.
okay
Oh.
sa kanya yon?
Okay sa kanya yan.
Okay. Eden Santos, Net 25.
Secretary, good morning po. Regarding po dun sa magiging contribution ng mga active military personnel and yung mga new entry
Recruits.
recruits, magkano po yung magiging monthly contribution nila if in case?
Usually, ang contribution will depend on your salary. Okay? Siguro, meron sa ditong number magiging gradual yung hindi naman immediate na katulad ng government workers. So, for the first 3 years, ang contribution nila is 5% of the salary. And then, ang contribution ng national government will be 16%. And then for the next 3 years, it will be increased to 7%, so from 5 to 7. And then yung NG share naman will decline to 14. Kasi ang ito is 21 I think that's the contribution of government workers. And then years thereafter, the MUP share will be increased to 9, and then NG share to 12. Okay, so gradual yung
Secretary, alam naman po natin na marami na rin mga ganyang recommendations before. Pero ito po bang mga ganitong reforms kailangan pang dumaan sa Kongreso?
Kailangan dumaan sa Kongreso. So, in-approve ni Presidente ito, and we will push this to Congress. And we are already talking to some people in Congress who will push this.
Okay.
Yun po kasi nagiging problema before kaya hindi po natutuloy yung...
Minsan nga hindi na nakakarating sa Kongreso. Dito na-install pa lang sa administration pa lang. But the President is recognizing the need for this, no? Talagang ipupush niya. Okay?
Hindi po kaya maging reason para yung mga military personnel natin, yung mga sundalo ay ma-demoralize or
Hindi naman.
umalma, mag-class, something
Hindi
like that.
naman, kasi as you know, recently, noong 2018, dinoble yung sweldo nila eh, di ba? So, and kaya nga gradual yung contribution nila from 5 to 7 to 9, di ba? And so I think naintindihan din nila that they have to, again, mag-cooperate with the rest of society. No? Otherwise, magbo-blow up talaga, magbabalon talaga yung deficit natin. Okay.
Okay. Heidi Sampang, FEBC.
Heidi.
Morning, sir. Doon lang po sa merger ng Land Bank at PBP,
Sure.
meron po bang mawawalan ng trabaho? At may estimate po ba tayo kung ilan ito at kung meron pong package na i-offer po sa kanila? Thank you, sir.
Definitely, may mawawalan, okay? Kasi there's redundancy, no? And then marireduce yung number of branches, but there's usually a package naman na bibigyan, voluntary, and then they can choose to retire. And since they are government official, they can retire under GSIS, or we will offer an attractive package for those who will be separated. Okay?
May estimate tayo, sir?
Wala pa tayong estimate at the moment.
Okay. Sir, mga kailan po kaya yung parang full effectivity ng merger?
It's too early to say, but I would think before the end of the year. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Maris Umali Tima, GMA 7.
Sir, just a follow-up on the merger. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this proposal has been approved in the previous administrations.
Yeah.
But for those administrations, it has not been implemented, and there are anxieties raised over this merger. So, what made you finally make the president approve this, and what are the reasons exactly to be able to, or what are your responses to the anxieties that are being raised over this merger?
As you know, this merger has been approved during the time of Pinoy. Okay? President Aquino. No, President Aquino, through the government of GCG, through GCG. It was not implemented. It was taken up during Duterte's term. It was also not implemented. So, but given what's happening now in the globally, you have banks which are now being closed, right? For example, Credit Suisse. Who would have thought that Credit Suisse will go under? So there's really a strong need for solidifying the government bank. We're not saying that DBP or Land Bank are they have problems. Okay, yung sinasabi nga nung argument ng DBP, why fix if there's no problem? Hindi naman broken. We're not saying that the current system is broken, but as policymakers, we have to constantly seek better ways of doing things, no? Especially if we want to improve the performance of particular government agencies. So, yun lang naman. And this is also consistent with our right-sizing. No? That's the focus also of the president, right-sizing the bureaucracy. Because if we are able to do that successfully, then we'll have more money for really essential projects like healthcare, education for our people, and infrastructure. So, yun. Okay?
Sir, one last regarding naman the issue on the pension. Because you mentioned that it still has to go through the Congress, and in the past, talagang hindi rin umaabot halos sa Kongreso. So, meron po ba tayong ibang plano kung sakaling hindi na naman ito ma-approve? Because you mentioned a while ago na talagang malaking ikakalugi na kung hindi ito maipatupad pa.
I think President Marcos Jr. is in a best position to push through with this reform. As I mentioned, his predecessors simply kicked the can forward, right, without success. Why did I say that? Remember that he is, I think, the first president who was elected by a significant majority, right? 60%. Yung ibang presidente, they were only elected by 25% because of the number of candidates, di ba? So he really has this very strong support, and he's willing to spend his political capital for this because nakikita niya na pag hindi niya ginawa to, there will be a fiscal collapse in the future. Secondly, Mr. Marcos also has very strong control of both houses of Congress. So it's going to be less problematic for him to push forward such a major reform.
Harley Valbuena, DZME.
Hi, good morning. Sir, the Congress already ratified the bill amending the fixed term of military officers. So if this bill becomes a law, do you believe, sir, that this will become a hindrance or a factor for the implementation of the military pension reform if this pushes through po, sir?
No, absolutely not. That's separate. That's a separate issue. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Alvin Baltasar, PBS.
Secretary, magandang umaga po.
Okay.
Secretary, doon sa mga mawawalan ng trabaho, doon sa merging, paano ba yung magiging proseso doon sa notification para doon sa mga hindi papalarin? At will you go over the records kung sino yung mga malapit na mag-retire para at least medyo magaang sa loob nila yung ano?
This as in any merger, etc. There are some who will be affected, right? Or, for example, in any reorganization, there are people who will be affected, and that's why we provide a very liberal separation package. Okay, so they can use that, they can invest it, right, in new business if they want to, or they can live on it but we are doing this for the greater good, no? Kasi ayaw mo naman na to employ people who are not doing anything, right? And there are benefits for example, if there's branches that you need to collapse, why not collapse them, right? So there are efficiency gains to be made, and this will benefit the whole country.
Secretary, follow-up lang po. Sabi niyo po, i-implement yun before the end of the year. So, kailan po tayo magsisimulang magbigay ng notification?
I'd say that the merger will take effect before the end of the year, so meron naman transition period yan, no? So I don't know when, no? Kung kailan sila magbibigay notification. Siguro siguro mga X number of days after the merger is formalized, no? Then you will be notified.
Okay, I believe that's the last question. Or do you still have time for more?
Sure.
Okay, one more. Chona Yu, Inquirer Radio.
Sir, in 2016, the President opposed the merger of DBP and Land Bank,
2016?
saying na
Who's that? Who's the president at that time?
President Marcos, he said na oppose siya dito kasi it will deprive farmers sa access sa agricultural bank. Why the sudden change of
I don't, personally, I don't, is that on
sa Senate po, nasa
2016?
16?
When he's running for Vice President.
Nag-change talaga yung ano niya kasi given, sabi ko nga, yung international developments, di ba? Big banks are folding, etc. Plus, no, he hasn't changed his mind since he was elected president. I know that he was for this proposal. Okay?
Okay, thank
Isa na
you.
lang, sir. Sa water crisis, sir, ano po ba ang ginagawa, magkano ang budget allotted for El Nino preparations ng government?
Siguro si
sinabi ni
Secretary
Presidente.
Pagtangano ng kausapin
Okay.
natin. No?
Thank you so much, Secretary Jokno, for briefing us on the proposed merger of Land Bank of the Philippines and Development Bank of the Philippines, as well as the proposed military and uniformed personnel pension reform program. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.